Welcome back to Gun&ShotTV. This is Chris, and today we're going to be talking about the Mini 14. I've been catching a lot of heat because I said I like a Mini 14. I think it's a light, handy weapon. It gives you pretty much everything you need without a lot of extra junk. I like the form factor. I like the action. I like the look of it. I think it's a neat gun. I'm not saying it's the best gun in the world, but I'm saying that I like it. And then a lot of people are also blown up about the whole, I said AR-15s aren't my favorite gun. I didn't say they're a bad gun. I just said they're not my favorite. I really like the Mini 14, and I'm going to try and make a video and explain why that is. But it's not just because I like the Mini 14. It's not just because Ruger's a good company. It's a few different things. And like I said, the form factor is a big part of it. But we didn't just start with the Mini 14. We actually started way back with carbines. The first successful carbines was the Winchester Model 94. And this came out in 1894. It's chambered in 30-30 Winchester. I've done a video about pre and post 64 Winchesters. This was designed by John Moses Browning, and also designed the 1911, the Browning machine gun, BAR, pretty much every, 1892 Winchester, 1900 or 1890 Winchester, pardon me. He designed pretty much all the guns at the turn of the century that became huge guns. They were pretty much Browning designs. And I think he really knew what he was doing. I don't know if he had a designer's eye or if he was, a student of ergonomics before it existed. But he knew how to make a gun that was handy, easy to carry, pointed well. It feels good in the hand. If you've never tried an 1892 or an 1894 Winchester, borrow one from a friend, give it a shot, or if you find one, just buy it. I guarantee you're going to like this gun. Now, this was, a pretty popular weapon all the way up to the 50s. And this carbine form factor, it's just so convenient. It's easy to use and everything, but you've got a couple drawbacks. It loads through the loading gate on the side here, and it's lever action. So, that limits it. To have a rifle power cartridge, the 30-30 is okay, but it's kind of long, so you're only getting about, I think it's 7 in the mag and 1 in the chamber, so 8 shots. Not the most firepower. But these were really common all the way, like I said, up through the 50s. Hunters, ranchers, people would have them in the back window of their truck, or take them in their trunk of their car, or you'd see people with them on their horse. They were just really popular, handy guns, just general all-purpose, knock-around guns. So, like I said, it was a little bit of a limited platform, and as time went on, things changed. By World War II, the need for a semi-automatic battle rifle was a pretty big deal. So this is actually a 50s M1 Garand. Now this fires a full-size 30-06 cartridge, holds 8 rounds in the magazine, and a end block clip that goes in the mag. Now this is also a pretty handy, decent rifle. Like, it points pretty well, it's used pretty well. It's not terribly heavy, but it is a full-size heavy. It recoils heavy. It's a battle rifle. So during World War II, there was another rifle that was designed that also became pretty popular. This was the M1 Carbine. This was designed by a guy named Carbine Williams. That was his nickname. He was actually, I think he was convicted of murder. And during his time in prison, he worked in a machine shop and designed a couple different guns. I don't know that he necessarily straight up designed the M1 Carbine. I think he did some contribution to the design. I think there was a whole lot of people that were involved with it. And I think he also designed a floating chamber for simulating full-size recoil for machine guns and 1911 pistols, like the Colt Aces with the floating chamber. That was his design. Anyways, he and other people scaled down the rotating bolt system, where this bolt comes and rotates, of the M1 Garand. Now this is scaled down to 30 carbine, which is essentially a straight wall pistol round. So it's not as powerful as a full-size battle rifle round, and in fact it's not even like an intermediate round. It's more like .357 Magnum. And it's okay, but it doesn't really have the range or the ballistics of even an intermediate cartridge. So these became very, very popular after the war when they were surplus. I know my dad got one of them when he was a kid at the hardware store for 15 bucks out of a barrel. They had a barrel full of them, and 15 bucks you could pick your own. He picked just a standard M1 carbine. They had jungle carbines as well for $15, but he didn't like the looks of the jungle one, so he went with the plain one. So I thought that was kind of neat. But these became so popular in that same carbine ranch rifle role. I mean, during the war, soldiers loved these because they were great to carry and worked pretty well. And after the war, they just really took over where that Winchester 94 kind of had that role. Now, like I said, the problem is it's limited with the cartridge and the power and everything. The Army did make a couple different forms of this too. They made, this is an M1, they made an M2 that was a fully automatic version of the M1, and they also made an M3 carbine, which was this monstrosity with a World War II era night sight, which is interesting, but I think I'd rather have a modern night sight given the choice. After the Korean War, the military was looking for a more updated full-size battle rifle. The brass still thought that they wanted a big, heavy 30-06 caliber, 308 caliber weapon. Now, they did design something called an M14. I don't actually have one of those. You can find them commercially as an M1A. It is essentially an M1 Garand with a box magazine. There's some other minor tweaks, but, you know, essentially that's what it is. It's still a full-size, heavy battle rifle. And those worked, but once again, ammunition's heavy, recoil's heavy, and it's just hard to send out a fully loaded squad of guys carrying those because now they're carrying so much extra weight from that rifle. Now we're on to the Mini 14. The Mini 14 was designed by Ruger as kind of a scaled-down intermediate platform to fire .223. As you can see, this is the 30 caliber M1 carbine and the Mini 14. They're about the same platform. The only real difference is this one's a little bit bigger to handle .223, and it's a little bit heavier, obviously, and it's got the .223 intermediate cartridge. One thing that I think a lot of people don't realize is, you know, Ruger hired a guy named L. James Sullivan, who had worked on the M16. He and Ruger were the ones that designed the Mini 14. And, you know, those of you that think the carbine platform or the Mini 14 was stupid or it was just a scaled-down M14, that's true. But years later, the Army kind of realized the utility of this platform, and they came up with their own carbine by scaling down the M16 to make the M4 carbine, which was essentially a continuation of the M1 carbine that went M2, M3, and then the M4. It's coming in a little bit closer. You can see it's got the same rotating bolt action as the M1 Garand. It does have a bolt to hold open, which you can circumvent by pushing down on the magazine follower there. It's also got a manual lock for the bolt hold open. If you want to lock and open without a magazine in, you can push that down, it stays open. Other than that, it's a pretty simple, just gas piston design where the operating rod takes the force from the bullets as they travel through the barrel. Once the bullets pass, the gas pushes out through a little gas port that pushes back on the piston, makes the operating rod open the bolt. And that's pretty much it. It has a very similar action to an M1 Garand, how the action all comes out in one piece, and it's pretty easy to take apart and clean. I really like it. I think it's a handy, neat platform. It gives you a lot of stuff that you do need without a lot of stuff you don't. Coming a little bit closer, the rifle is pretty simple. Now to load it, you're going to take your magazines. It kind of rocks in like an AK, and there's a little lip at the front here where it's got a hole, and then there's a little pin in the receiver. So you're going to put the mag up so it catches that pin, and then you're going to push it back until it locks in. Let me show you how that looks from the side. I'm going to push it in here, locks in, and then obviously if there's rounds in there, you're going to pull back on the op rod and it'll fly forward. Now your safety is just this tab here. Pull it back, and now it's engaged. You cannot pull the trigger. Push it forward, and now the safety is disengaged. So going back to the title of the video, a lot of people were wondering how I got this Mini 14 for $500. Well, I looked on Gunbroker for quite a while because I got this, I think it was a few years ago now, probably 4 or 5 years ago, and I wanted the stainless and the wood. I thought that was a neat combination. They had stopped making it, so I was stuck looking on Gunbroker. I was thinking I'd find one used. Well, I found one that was new in box for $500. All it was missing was the scope ring, the manual, and the magazine. So I figured $500 is a pretty good deal. I took it, and I figured once I got it, I'll call Ruger. So I called Ruger, and I said, look, I'm missing the manual. You're going to send that to me for free, I know that, but I was interested in wondering if I could get a better price on the rings and the magazine if I bought them together right from you guys, because they're missing out of the box. So the lady was really nice. She said, well, you know, let me check with my manager, see if there's something I can do for you, because we're going to mail you the manual anyway. And I said, you know, I understand, I'll pay for them. I'm not, you know, not trying to get anything for free or anything. But she said, well, let me look into it. So 2-3 days later, I hadn't heard back from her. I figured, you know, they'd send me a letter with a price quote or something. I went out to the mail, and I had a big pouch with free magazine, free scope rings, and the manual. So Ruger customer service hooked me up on that. I don't think I would have got it for $500 if it had those in the box, but either way, it was a pretty good price. If you troll a gun broker, you can occasionally find some pretty good deals on buy it now stuff. So you can see the two different guns. Here's the AR I built, and here's the Mini 14. Just to give you an idea of the scale. Now, they both feel about the same weight to me, but obviously I'll need to weigh them when I do an actual comparison. But I want to give you an idea of where I was talking as far as the form factor and how, you know, how it's the carbine form factor. I think is a little bit neater in the Mini 14 than the AR, but they're both good guns. I'm not trying to pick one side or the other or say one is better. Just personal preference mainly, but I know people are going to flip out about it, so I figured I'd hold them up, compare them a little bit. I'll get to a video where I actually do a more in-depth comparison with some more stuff, but for right now I'm going to take the Mini down to the range and shoot some targets. So I hope you learned a little bit more about the Mini 14 in this video. You may not love it, you may not agree with my opinions, but let's face it, they're my opinions. And as usual, it was a fun day to get out the range and shoot some stuff, and fun to take out some stuff from the collection and have a little show and tell. For Gun&ShotTV, this is Chris. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.